So welcome. This is my screen background or slideshow which have a title of prepare a video presentation about the standard operating procedures on the different techniques on firefighting operation. Task 4. So before I start, I'm gonna put my camera first. So there you are. So to God be the glory. So in firefighting operations, we have 14 contents about the SOP in firefighting operation and having their different techniques also. So first we have armory fire, explosive storage, 2 basement fire, 3 fire in high-rise building, 4 high fire in hospital facilities with radioactive materials, 5 fire in jails, correctional institutions, 6 fire in LPG installation, 7 fire in water vessels docked at wharves or piers, 8 fire involving hydrocarbon substance in oil depot or refinery. 9, we have also here fire in vehicles, construction sites, and processing plants with radiological substance. 10, fire resulting from bomb explosion. 11, first incident to fireworks, pyrotechnics explosion. 12, fire resulting from plane crash outside the airport, airfield. 13, forest fire. 14, vehicular fire. 110. So first we gonna move to the armory fire explosive storage. So it has a purpose having effectively and safely respond to fire incidents involving armory and explosive storage and protect the firefighters from harm. Scope: all firefighting units of the city, municipal fire station, and volunteer fire brigades. Responsibilities: having the 4, which are the municipal city fire section, district and provincial offices, 3 regional offices, and 4 national headquarters. So this is the general procedures of the standard operation procedure of firefighting operation. So before they also prepare all responders wear appropriate personal protective equipment or PPE before proceeding to the scene. 2. The incident commander IC establishes incident command post ICP if not available upon arrival, but if ICP is already established, the IC joins the existing ICP under unified command. 3. The IC, who is the highest ranking personnel, HRP, will notify the next higher office of the station and the needed resources. ICP calls for the presence of explosive ordnance disposal expert from the Philippine National Police or Armed Forces of the Philippines. 5. Unified Command declares isolation distance. 6. The UC directs the cordoning of the area. So we're gonna move to the actual during. So 7. Responders perform rescue operation if there are trapped victims only upon advice by the EOD experts. 8. Responders fight fire at a distance to contain confine the fire. The BFP component of United Command declares fire under control when there is no probability for fire to escalate. 10. Responders conduct overhauling upon clearance from the EOD expert. So we have here a post-after. 11. The BFP component of United Command declares far out after the termination of total extinguishment, and the BFP component of Unified Command directs the BFP investigator to conduct investigation in coordination with camp facility officials and in case of private explosive storage for the joint investigation with the PNP. 13. The responding unit returns to the station only after demobilization. 14. The fire marshal, together with the firefighting unit, conducts post-fire analysis. 15. The station chief operations submit after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. Effectiveness criteria. So they have also a reduced casualty or injury and minimize damage to properties. Coordination and collaboration achieved through Incident Command System, ICS. So we're gonna move to the basement fire. Having a purpose of effectively and safely response to fire incidents involving basement and protect the firefighters from harm. Scope and responsibilities are the same from the number 1. So the general rules in basement. Standard operation procedure. So first, before 1. All responders wear appropriate personal protective equipment. 2. The incident commander, who is the highest ranking personnel, coordinates with the company fire brigade building administrator or gather information including evacuation plan, floor plan, the location and extent of fire and the type of fuel involved, and eventually the transfer of command. 3. The IC assumes command and activates incident command system. 4. The IC activates and deploys evacuation, search and rescue, emergency medical services, and hazardous materials (HAZMAT) response teams if needed. The IC directs the conduct of damage assessment and need analysis and reports the same to the next higher office. Actual during. 6. The IC directs the conduct of fire operation in accordance with the phases of firefighting whenever applicable. 7. The IC declares for fire under control when there is no probability of fire to escalate. Post-after. 8. The BFP component of Unified Command declares fire out after the termination of total extinguishment. The IC directs the BFP investigator to continue the conduct of investigation. 10. The responding unit returns to the station after demobilization only. 11. The fire marshal, together with the fire fighting unit, conducts post-fire analysis. The station chief operations submit after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. Next, we have also here effectiveness criteria in basement. Reduce casualty or injury and minimize damage to properties. Coordination and collaboration achieved through incident command system, and having a safely rescue trapped victims. Yes, we have here we have going to the number 3, fire in high-rise building. So the purpose here is that effectively and safely respond to fire incident involving high-rise building and protect the firefighters from harm. The scope and responsibilities here is the same of the number 1 and number 2. So we'll go on to the general procedures of the number 3, having before number 1, all responding personnel wearing appropriate personal protective equipment (PPE). The incident commander IC coordinates with the management of the building for initial gathering of information and initiates transfer of command. 3. The IC activates and deploys evacuation, search and rescue, emergency medical services, and hazardous material (HAZMAT) response teams if needed. Actual during. If the IC conducts damage assessment and need analysis (DANA) and report the same to the next higher office. 5. The IC directs the conduct of fire operations in accordance with the phases of firefighting whenever applicable. 6. The IC declares fire under control when there is no probability for fire to escalate. 7. Responding personnel perform overhauling until fire is totally extinguished. Post-after. 8. The IC declares fire out after determination of total extinguishment. The IC 9. The IC directs the BFP investigators to continue the conduct of investigation. 10. The responding unit returns to the station after demobilization only. 11. The fire marshal together with the firefighting unit conducts post-fire analysis. We have here some effectiveness criteria. It is also the same in criteria in basement, no? Reduce casualty or injury and minimize damage to properties. Coordination and collaboration achieved through Incident Command System (ICS) safely rescued trapped victims. So we have here number 4, fire in hospital facilities with radioactive materials. 4. We have here effectively and safely respond to fire incidents involving hospital facilities with radioactive materials and protect the firefighters from harm. The scope and responsibilities here are the same from the number 1, number 2, and number 3. So we go on to the general procedures of this number 4. So we have here responders should wear complete personal protective equipment before proceeding to the scene. The incident commander coordinates with the hospital officials and arranges the transfer of command. The IC assumes command and establishes incident command system. The IC activates and deploys evacuation, search, and rescue, emergency medical services, and hazardous material response team. The IC directs the conduct of damage assessment and need analysis (DANA) and report the same to the next higher office. The IC establishes isolation distance as per Emergency Response Guide Book (ERG) and Material Safety Data Sheet (MSDS). 7. Firefighting units cordon the area to deny entry to unauthorized person. The IC taps the hazardous material, HAZMAT, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear explosive CBRNE and Philippine Nuclear Research Institute PNR specialists. We have here actual during. Number 10. Firefighting unit fights fire at a distance only if possible and with the guidance of PNRI and or CBRN specialists. The BFP component of United Command taps on alarm based on prevailing situation. Number 12. The BFP component of United Command declares fire under control when there is no probability for fire to escalate. Then 13. Firefighting unit performs overhauling upon the advice of the United Command. So we go on to the BFP component of Unified Command declares fire out when total extinguishment is accomplished. 15. The Unified Command directs the conduct of decontamination by the Special Rescue Unit. The BFP component of Unified Command directs BFP investigator to coordinate with the PNRI officials for the conduct of joint investigation. The responding units return to the station after demobilization only. The fire marshal together with the fire team unit conducts post-fire analysis. The fire station chief operations submit after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. So the effectiveness criteria having reduce casualty or injury and minimize damage to properties. Coordination and collaboration achieved through Incident Command System ICS. 5. We have here a fire in jails, correctional institution. What is the purpose here? The purpose is that effectively and safely respond to fire incident involving jails, correctional institutions, and protect the firefighters from harm. The scope and responsibilities here are the same from the number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have here general procedures. Before. Number 1, all responders wear appropriate personal protective equipment. Second, the highest ranking personnel HRP coordinates with the institution officials at the incident command post. Actual during, we have here the Unified Command directs the conduct of fire operation in accordance with the phases of firefighting whenever possible. Number 4, the UC activates the deploys evacuation, search and rescue, and emergency medical services response team if needed. Post-after, we have here the BFP component of Unified Command declares fire out. After the termination of total distinguishment, Unified Command conducts head count of all responders. 7. The BFP component of Unified Command directs the BFP investigators to conduct investigation. The responding units return to the station after demobilization only. 9. The fire marshal, together with the firefighting unit, conducts post-fire analysis. 10. The station chief operations submit after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. Effectiveness criteria: reduce casualty or injury and minimize damage to properties. Coordination and collaboration achieved through Incident Command System ICS. So we have here fire in LPG installation. The purpose here is that effectively and safely responds to fire incidents involving LPG installation and protect the firefighters from harm. The scope and responsibilities are the same from the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we go on to the general procedures having before. First is that all first responders respond to the incident in complete personal protective equipment. Second, highest ranking personnel assumes command as incident commander and activates incident command system. 3. The IC activates and deploys evacuation, search, and rescue emergency medical services and hazardous material hazmat response teams if needed. Number 4, the IC directs the conduct of damage assessment and need analysis and reports the same to the next higher office. Number 5, IC identifies the materials involved and its storage or location for possible bleed. 6. The responders stop the leak if fire is not involved. 7. Firefighting unit observe isolation distance at least 800 meters radius if fire is involved. Responders position the equipment and personnel behind the structure or any natural barrier. Responders place a monitor nozzle towards the storage tank truck. Actual during. Firefighting unit fights fire from a distance of at least 800 meters using unnamed hose, stand, or monitor nozzle. 11. Firefighting unit floods containers with water until fire is out. The IC declares fire under control when there is no probability for fire to escalate. Then 13, firefighting unit conducts overhauling. Post after. The IC declares fire out upon determination of total extinguishment. The IC directs the BFP investigator to continue the conduct of investigation. 16. The fire marshal together with the firefighting unit conducts post-fire analysis. The station chief operations submit after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. Effectiveness criteria is the same as the number 5 and 6. 7. Fire in water vessel dock at wharves of piers, having a purpose of effectively and safely respond to fire incidents involving water vessels dock at wharves or piers and protect the firefighters from harm. Scope and responsibilities are the same of the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we go on to the fire in water vessel dock at wharves or piers general procedures. So having all responders wear appropriate personal protective equipment. The highest ranking personnel coordinates with the Philippine Ports Authority for the adoption of Unified Command. The Unified Command coordinates with the jetty in charge or ship captain together all information. The BFP component of Unified Command directs the conduct of damage assessment and need analysis data and reports the same to the next higher office. 5. The Unified Command directs the immediate coordination with the Philippine Coast Guard, Maritime Police, and Philippine Navy who serve as support units. Actual during. We have here the BFP component of Unified Command directs the conduct of fire operation in accordance with the phases of firefighting whenever possible. 7. The BFP component of the Unified Command faces an alarm. 8. The firefighting teams attack the fire as they do in structural fire operation. 9. The BFP component of Unified Commands declares fire under control when there is no probability for fire to escalate. So, next, post after. We have here the BFP component of Unified Command declares fire out after the determination of total extinguishment. 11. The BFP component of Unified Command directs the BFP investigator to continue the conduct of investigation. The responding units return to the station after demobilization only. 13. The fire marshal, together with the firefighting units, conducts post-fire analysis. 14. The station chief operation submits after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. Effectiveness criteria is as the same as the number 5 and 6. 8. We have also here fire involving hydrocarbon substance in oil depot or refinery. 90. What is that the purpose? Purpose is that effectively and safely responds to fire incidents involving hydrocarbon substances in oil depot or refinery and protect the firefighters from harm. The scope and responsibilities here as the same of the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 and 7. We have also here general procedures. Before, all responders wear appropriate personal protective equipment. 2. The responding unit proceeds to the designated staging area upon arrival at the scene. Highest ranking personnel immediately checks into the staging area manager and coordinates with the incident commander for the transfer of command. Actual during, the HRP assumes command as incident commander and adopts incident command system. The responding team waits for the guidance from the hydrocarbon experts before initiating any action. The IC directs the immediate coordination with the Philippine Coast Guard for chemical spills in the ocean and DNR EMB for chemical spills inland and other government agencies. 6. We have here our responders check that hose lines are of sufficient length and are laid out properly. So we have here post after. The responders isolate the fuel 8. The responding unit contains or confines the fire to its source. The responding unit pressurize or shuts off the valve. Then the responding unit goes to the other lit and or open pipe valve caught on fire and repeat the process until all fires were extinguished. 11. The IC shouts clear or fire out and state the valve location after the fire is extinguished only. 12. The IC directs the BFP investigator to continue the conduct of investigation. 13. Responding units return to the station after demobilization only. 14. The fire marshal together with the fire unit conducts post-fire analysis. The station chief operations submit after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. Effectiveness criteria: having reduced casualty or injury and minimized damage to properties. Coordination and collaboration achieved through incident command. 9. We have also here fire in vehicles, construction sites, and processing plants with radiological substances. What is the purpose? The purpose here is that effectively and safely responds to fire incidents involving vehicles, construction sites, and processing plants with radiological substances and protect the firefighters from harm. The scope and responsibilities here are the same from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we go on to the general procedures. The general procedures here is that first, all responders wear complete personal protective equipment before proceeding to the scene. Highest ranking personnel assumes command and establishes incident command post ICP. 3. ICP gathers information as to what radioactive material is involved. 4. Incident commander establishes initial isolation distance if there is no radiation meter available. Refer to emergency response guidebook. 5. Firefighting unit cordons the area to deny entry to unauthorized person. 6. The IC calls BFP Special Rescue Unit SRU, Emergency Medical Services EMC, ES, and the Philippines Nuclear Research Institute PNR Emergency Response Team. Actual during. Firefighting unit perform initial firefighting at upwind position, approach at the cold zone, engage only upon the instruction of the expert through the IC. Number 8. Firefighting unit performs direct fighting if radiological equipment is not involved in fire. In case the radiological equipment is involved, then fight fire at a safe distance until completely extinguished. 9. The IC taps an alarm based on prevailing situation. 10. The IC coordinates with the PNRI officials upon their arrival and adopts unified command. BFP responding personnel assist SRU and PNRI emergency team in setting up a decontamination corridor. 12. PFB component of unified commands declares fire under control when there is no probability of fire to escalate. Post after. 14. The BFP component of unified commands declare fire out after determination of total extinguishment. 15. The Unified Command directs of the responding personnel to undergo decontamination. The Unified Command directs BFP investigators to coordinate with the PNRI officials for the conduct of joint investigation. The responding units return to the station after demobilization only. 18. The fire marshal together with the firefighting unit conducts post-fire analysis. 19. The station's chief operations submits after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. Effectiveness criteria is the same of the 5, 6, 7, and 8. 10. We have here a fire resulting from bomb explosion. Purpose: effectively and safely respond to fire incidents resulting from bomb explosion and protect the firefighters from harm. The scope and responsibilities here are the same from the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we have here general procedures in number 10. 1 is that all responders wear proper and complete personal protective equipment before proceeding to the scene. 2. The highest ranking personnel assumes command and activates incident command system only if the BFP is the first responder. 3. The BFP incident commander IC directs the conduct of damage assessment and need analysis data and reports the same to the next higher office. 4. The BFP IC directs the responding personnel to isolate and cordon the area. 5. The BFP IC directs firefighting at the same distance of 300 meters radius. 6. The BFP IC waits for the arrival of the Philippine National Police highest ranking personnel, immediately briefs him and arranges the adoption of Unified Command. 7. The Unified Command may direct BFP to organize and deploy search and rescue team, emergency medical services, and evacuation team only after declaration of scene safety. Firefighting may continue at a closer distance upon advice by the Unified Command. Actual during. The BFP component of Unified Command declares fire under control when there is no probability of fire to escalate. Number 10. The Unified Command directs the host firefighting unit to conduct overhauling. Number 10. The BFP component of Unified Command declares fire out upon the determination of the total. The next, post after. 12. The BFP component of Unified Command directs BFP investigators to coordinate with the PNP for the conduct of joint investigation. The responding units return to the station after demobilization only. The fire marshal together with the fire fighting unit conducts post-fire analysis. 15. The fire station chief operation submits fire after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. It also have effectiveness criteria, meaning reduce casualty or injury and minimize damage to properties. Coordination and collaboration achieved through incident command system. So we have here 11. First incident to fireworks pyrotechnics explosion. What is the purpose here? Here is that effectively and safely respond to fire incident involving fireworks, pyrotechnics explosion, and protect the firefighters from harm. The scope and responsibilities here are the same from the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we have here general procedures in number 11. So number 1, all responders wear appropriate personal protective equipment. 2, the incident commander IC assumes command and establishes incident command system. 3, all responders take protective cover if personal safety will be jeopardized. 4, the IC activates and deploys search and rescue. emergency medical and evacuation teams if needed. Actual during. Number 5, the IC conducts damage assessment and need analysis data and reports the same to the next higher office. 6. The IC directs the conduct of fire operation in accordance with the phases of firefighting whenever possible. Then the IC declares fire under control when there is no probability for fire to escalate. 8. Responding personnel performs overhauling until fire is totally extinguished. So we have here post after. The IC declares fire out after the termination of total extinguishment. 10. The IC directs the BFP investigators to coordinate with the Philippine National Police for investigation. 11. The responding units return to the station after demobilization only. 12. The fire marshal, together with the firefighting unit, conducts post-fire analysis. 13. The station chief operations submits after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. What is the effectiveness here? Criteria: reduce the casualty or injury and minimize damage to properties. Coordination and collaboration achieved through incident command system. So we have here 12. Fire resulting from plane crash outside the airfield. What is the purpose here? The purpose here is that effectively and safely responds to fire incident resulting from plane crash outside the airfield and protect the firefighters from harm. The scope and responsibilities here are the same from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. We go to the number 30. The general procedures. The general procedures of the number 12. 1. All responders wear appropriate personal protective equipment. First, responding unit immediately proceeds to the crash site. 3. Highest ranking personnel informs the higher office of the situation. HRP assumes command and establishes incident command post. 5. ICP gathers relevant information. 6. The IC activates and deploys evacuation, search and rescue, emergency medical services, EMS, and hazardous materials, HAZMAT, response team if needed. Actual during. 7. Firefighting unit provides interior verticalization as soon as attack lines are set into operation using positive pressure verticalization, fans, or fog dose streams. 8. Firefighting unit sprays water cover exposure to adjacent properties while simultaneously suppressing the fire in the aircraft without interfering with the escape of the passengers. 9. Firefighting unit covers all the flammable liquids with foam and maintains a blanket of foam on the flammable liquid area to avoid ignition. Post after. 10 is that firefighting unit conducts overhauling upon clearance from the unified command. 11. The IC declares fire out upon the termination of total extinguishment. 12. EMS turns over recorded victims and survivors to CAP officials if any. 13. HRP turns over the incident scene to the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines. 14. BFP investigator coordinates with the CAP in line with the Bureau's investigation of the incident. 15. The fire marshal, together with the firefighting unit, conducts post-fire analysis. 16. The station chief operations submits after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. What is the effectiveness criteria? The effectiveness criteria here is that reduce casualty or injury and minimize damage to properties, coordination and collaboration, and achieved through incident command system. So we go on to the forest fire. What is the purpose of this? The purpose is that effectively and safely responds to fire incidents involving forest fire and protect the firefighters from harm. scope and responsibilities are the same also in from number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we go on to the general procedures. We have here a pre-before. From number 1, all responders wear appropriate personal protective equipment. The responding personnel proceed to the fire scene as fast as possible. 3. High-ranking personnel assumes command and activates incident command system. 4. The incident commander IC determines the wind direction, type of fuel burning, type of fuel in the path of fire, slope, natural barriers, and safety of his men. The IC conducts damage assessment and need analysis data and reports the same to the next higher office. The IC notifies the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, DENR, and Philippine National Police. Actual during. Responding unit confines the fire by using a combination of natural and constructed barriers that will stop the spread of fire. 8. The responding unit controls the critical areas or hot spot to stop the spread. 9. The IC directs the firefighting units to extinguish the fire. 10. The IC declares fire under control when there is no possibility for the escalate. Okay, post after. We have here number 11 that the IC declares fire out after the termination of total extinguishment. 12. The IC directs the BFP, the investigators, to coordinate with the DNR and PNP for the conduct of joint investigation. 13. The fire marshal, together with the firefighting unit, conducts post-firefighting operation analysis. 14. The station chief operation submits after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. Effectiveness criteria. Here shows us that reduce casualty or injury and minimize damage to properties. Coordination and collaboration achieved through incident command system. So we have here in number 14, the last but not the least, having a title of Vehicular Fire 110. What is the purpose? The purpose here is that effectively and safely respond to fire incident involving vehicular fire, protect the firefighters from harm. Scope and responsibilities here are the same from the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So we go on to the general procedures. Before. Number 1, all they need is that all responders wear appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE. Number 2, the high-ranking personnel, HRP, assumes command and adopts incident command system, ICS. 3, responders choke the tires of the burning vehicle to avoid fire to roll away or towards the fire engine. Actual during. Here, the different techniques. Firefighting units sprays water first to the passengers compartment if passengers are still inside the vehicle. 5. Responders extricate occupants from the vehicle. 6. Firefighting unit extinguishes the fire. 7. The incident commander, IC, declares fire under control when there is no probability for fire to escalate. 8. Responders disconnect the battery of the vehicles before the overhauling activity. And 9. Firefighting unit conducts overhauling. So we have here post after the number 10, the IC declares fire out after the termination of total extinguishment. 11. The IC directs the BFP investigators to continue the conduct of investigation. 12. The responding unit returns to the station after demobilization only. Number 13. The fire marshal, together with the firefighting unit, conducts post-firefighting operation analysis. 14. The station chief operation submit after fire operation report to the fire marshal for subsequent submission to the next higher office. The effectiveness here criteria is that reduce casualty or injury and minimize damage to properties. Coordination and collaboration achieved through Incident Command System or ICS. So here, thank you for watching my video presentation and God bless you.